So I'll start with, some of you have been to my layout, but I have, I'll give you some background. My railroad is the Mid-Ohio Railroad. It's actually, I model the line, the Ohio Central line from Newark to Mount Vernon. So I'm modeling it, but with a fictitious railroad, the Mid-Ohio, that actually likes their customers and tries to actually switch cars. So that's a completely different concept than what the Ohio Central currently has. As an example, the current grain elevator had a switch go bad. Since they owned it, the Ohio Central refused to help them with it and said they took out the switch. They took out a piece of rail. They're unable to use the siding now. So the grain elevator is not moving any grain cars. They put dirt in and are loading trucks from the grain loader for the freight cars. So that's why I model a railroad that actually cares about the customers. So I use, for my railroad, I can run up to 4 trains. And so I can run up to 4 trains. I use 2-man crews. Al, Jim, Matt, Mike have all been there and operated. It takes us, you'd be amazed what 8 industries, how much time 8 industries can take. It usually takes us 2.5 hours to switch the railroad. We do operate fairly slow, 10 to 15 miles an hour. We operate with sergeant couplers, so that always slows everything down. Al can testify, he always brings his flashlight now. But it is an experience. I use a program called SwitchList. It is a Mac-based program. You can go into the Mac or Apple store and purchase it. I think it's only a few dollars. It is a great program. So what I'm going to tell you about a little bit is how the program operates and what you do. So this is the main screen where I can generate my switch lists after I've input my data. This is the main overview. What's really nice about the program is if you'll, and I'll pass out some things. So once I've input all the data, and what you do is you create your lists of your cars, you create the commodities that they haul, you put car types, and then you specify your industries and the siding lengths and everything like that. So I'll walk you through that. But what I do is I use the official AAR car types from the official Railway Equipment Register. If you haven't, I can pass this around if anybody wants to look at it. This is a 2011, but if it's not in here, it's not on my railroad for car types. But I use the car types to input data in here, and I'll show you that a little bit. But this is the Bible that I use for my freight cars on my railroad, and it's really neat. You can, if you don't have one for your railroad for your time period, get one, because that's issue 120, volume 127, so that's 2011. They go back 120 years, so you can find one somewhere. They get real expensive back in the 40s, though. But you can pick those up on eBay, $20, $25 for middle years. Current years are much more expensive, and older years are more expensive. So, so what you do is, the first thing you do is you create your layout within the switch list. And so what this is I've created the car types that I'm using on my railroad. And so these are all the different car types, and then a description of the car. So I can set my date. So if you wanted to create a date and then it just keeps rolling, this is how you create that. But I have spot cars at specific doors. So if an industry has doors, this will say you have to spot it at this door on this car, on this industry. And then I limit the industry capacity based on the length of the siding. You put in the length of the car, and it will keep you from putting more cars than will fit in the industry. So that's something car cards don't do. This will keep you from putting too many cars in there. So like I said, the first thing I do is you create the car types that you're going to have. Then you create your industries. So these are the different industries, and then I've created the location where they're at. So the various industries, and so here's where you put your spur length. So the length of your siding goes here, the number of doors, It's actually really easy. You just start putting in, a monkey can put the stuff in, really. But it allows you to, once you have all your data, you hit a button and it creates your switch list. So here's my 2 yards. I have Kibler Yard in Newark and Knox Yard in Mount Vernon. So those are where all my switching gets done, and out of those 2 yards. Again, the cargoes. So as an example, this industry, you can't see it, is Frito-Lay. I have a Frito-Lay, the Frito-Lay in Worcester I've put in Mount Vernon to give more interest. So I get one corn syrup car per week. Here's the type of car that it uses, and it comes where it comes from. So this is how you create your industries and say what we're getting, how many cars are we getting per week. You can do per week, per day, per month. So it allows you to create randomization by this feature here. So let me just show you. So yeah, so I could have one corn syrup car per day. I could have one per week or one per month. And you can create your own rate, and every industry and every car type can have a different rate. So that way you're not switching the same 5 cars every time you come. I'm pretty sure the guys that have been there multiple times, your train has never been the same. Even though I have 100 cars on the layout, you probably never switch the same car in the same session. It's really kind of amazing. I only have 2 cars for every spot, and it's different every time. You're never going to switch the same thing. You could go a couple of years of operating sessions and never wind up with the same combo, because of you're creating your frequency and your number of loads. You can, so as an example, my grain elevator gets 25 cars a week. It gets 25 cars a week, but every operating session is only 1 day. So you may only do 7 or 8 cars when you come. So you have your cargoes, your towns, your industries, your yards, your cargoes. I showed you. Then what you do is you input all of your freight cars. So this is all of my freight cars on my layout, including the ones on my workbench. So I have this car, this one's on my workbench. So it's easy to take a car offline. You just change it to the workbench. What's really nice is I can, a week before the operating session, I create 2 reports. I'll create a car location worksheet and I'll pass this around. So this basically shows you every industry, and it shows you what cars should be where. So it's really easy to go through and make sure the cars are where they belong. If they aren't, I know I need to find them. So there's the other report. This is the yard report. So this shows me what cars are in my yard. And it shows me where they're going to be going. So I can prep for an operating session. It takes me less than an hour to check all of my cars, where they're at. So Carter, if you hold on a second, there's 2 reports there. So I was going to show you. So this one is, so this is a car. That's another car yard, or this is a car report, and this is a location report. So if I have a car, I can look it on here. All my cars are in alphabetic order here, and if I find that car, I can find out where it's supposed to be. So this one tells me where it's supposed to be, and then this one, I go to the location. This tells me what cars are supposed to be there. So you can look them both up really easy, and there's not a lot of chasing down cards and figuring out where the car is. This tells me where they're at, and I can fix it in a matter of moments. So again, you see here, so I put the reporting marks in, what the product is carrying, is it loaded or empty, shows you the car type, car length. Out of the book, I put the car length in, so that gets plugged into, you can limit the size of your train by by length of train. So if you have your sidings and you want to limit it, it'll add up all your cars and tell you you're too long for the siding. So, but it also limits your number of cars in the siding by saying you've got too many cars. So what it will do is it'll leave that car at the yard. It'll say this car won't fit, leave it there. So you've got again, just your freight cars are all there. What's nice is all of these buttons are clickable, so I can sort it by alphabetical order. I can sort by car type. I can sort by car length and so on, loaded, empties, cargo, and location. Uh-huh.
We use this application just as general inventory as well?
You could, if, yeah, I mean, all of my cars are on here, so I know, and so then, again, my cars that are on my workbench, you can see what's on my workbench. There's like all the cars that are on my workbench. There should be 12 or 13 cars on my workbench right now. And that's everything that's on my workbench. So that's partly my inventory too. Yeah. And again, I can print off a car report and it'll tell me where they're all supposed to be. There are not. Unfortunately, you could add under cargo, you can add notes, or you can do, I mean, these lines allow you to type in, you're not limited to just the road number. You can put more information in there. You could put X this, or, you know, I've often done that. So, but it gives you a lot of flexibility there. So once you basically, you put in your freight cars, you put in your towns, your industries, your yards, your cargoes, then you say, how many trains do I want? So I actually run 4 trains. So I've created those trains. So the easiest way to, so as an example, I have one train that's just, HDO3 is just high and wide cars, heavy duty flats. So I've limited it to only these types of cars. So that's how I keep, because it sees that this train is going from point A to point B. If I don't limit the cars, it'll throw a couple of grain hoppers on there, and away you go. Next thing you know, you got 10 grain cars on your heavy duty flat car train. So as an example, my grain train is limited to one, extra grain is limited to one car type, so it doesn't get extras on there. So again, and then what I've done, so KTO1 is the Kibler turn, and this is the Mount Vernon turn, and it only gets those car types because those are the only cars that go to those industries. So it's limiting my industries on an individual train. So as an aside, I'll show you that. So when you go to print your reports, which I'll show you in a minute, your switch lists, it gives you a couple of different options for switch lists depending on the type of era. So I use the PICL report, which looks like a modern switch list, but you can do it on railroad letterhead, San Francisco Beltline, or Southern Pacific narrow gauge, or a waybill. So it'll create a waybill for you for your train. So these are, and I'll pass these around. So these are work orders for the various trains. And some of these have notes on them because this is also how my operators can convey things back to me, problems they find along the way. They put notes on the switch list. It's helpful to me because then I can look at the switch list afterwards and I know what to fix. But this also shows the crews what to work with. So if I wanted to, so those are the PICL report. I'll just show you. So if I did a Southern Pacific narrow gauge, when I create my, see, these are cars that don't fit on those trains. So if I'm using the Southern Pacific narrow gauge switch list, this is what it looks like instead of what you see in your hand. So it looks like a switch list from the 40s. It'll show you the car, the contents, where it's going from and to. Or lose something. So it gives you the flexibility of doing modern. It gives you the flexibility of doing 40s, 50s, creating just waybills. If that's what you want to do, you can create a waybill format and use waybills instead of the reports that I use. It's all of what you want to use for your time period. But it's a really, for you Mac users, Don, it's a great way to be able to create, and you're not managing cards. And you also, if you drop the switch list, you just pick it up and keep working. You're not Been there, done that. Anybody at Bill Mapes' house, how many times have you sorted through car cards like, what just happened to me? This is a great way to do that. It's really flexible, and you can, and again, once I'll show you. So go back to the switch list. So once your operating session is done, you hit complete train, and it automatically, so if you see all the twos where it's supposed to go, you hit 2, it moves all the cars to the new spot based on where the train is supposed to take it. So you are ready. So, so train completed, you hit that button, all the cars are now at the new locations. So you go to create your next switch list, everything's where it's supposed to be based on that. If your operators put notes, hey, we didn't deliver this car, you can go in and fix that. But this automatically puts all your cars into the new spot. You're ready for the next operating session with one button. I don't have to sort through a lot of paperwork. I just hit train completed, and my cars are where they're supposed to be. Or you could annul train, and that'll leave all the cars where they were. But it's really, and so then you can just start a new session, and away you go. It moves the date up a day, and you move forward.
You hit train completed, does it then say, oh, those cars that were loaded are now empty?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's based on the number of days you take to unload it. If Matt, if you go to industries, right there. Actually, it's cargo. I think it's cargoes. Yeah. Unloads in 2 days.
Okay.
So you can click on that, and you can change how long it takes a car to be unloaded. So you can take, I think, a week for a car to be unloaded. Yeah, or 1, 2, 3 days. So that's how long. So 3 days, your car will be unloaded in 3 days. So it won't be available to pick up for at least 3 days. So there you go. So that, like I said, that creates a lot of flexibility within the program, and you can, depending on your industry, you can change how many cars it gets and then how long it takes to unload it. So it may only get 1 car a month, but if it takes 2 days to unload it, and then you choose, yeah, you choose the parameter for your operating sessions. Is it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days from the last time? And then it'll automatically create that for you, create your switch list based off of that. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mike.
Frequency of 1 car a month, for
Uh-huh.
instance. Would we have to come up to 30 op sessions for the one industry change?
Yeah, if I only do a day each time, yes, yes. So it'll be, and I'm only operating every other month, so it'll be a while. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so it, again, you set up the parameters. I've played with some parameters just to kind of see how often, it's like, well, I really want that industry to get switched more often, so I'll change the parameters a little bit just to kind of, so as an example, I have 4 ballast cars that only get removed once a month, once a month. And then because I've got a storage spot that I created since the last time. I think, Matt, you were there, you picked them up probably the last time from Mount Vernon. But I got a storage track, and those cars haven't moved in 1 or 2 operating sessions.
On the yard parameters
Uh-huh.
there, would it prevent your yard from getting too full given the 4 trains, whatever number of trains you have run per session?
It does not have that. My parameter is I don't have more cars than my yards can handle. I mean, I try and I actually need to, I probably have more cars than I need. I need to skinny down a few, but I only have enough for, again, every car or every industry. There's only two cars for every spot on every industry. I do not have more cars than that on it's a self-limiting factor that keeps me from buying more cars than I need. I know a lot of people will do where you move cars off the layout for a period of time. You would just create another industry within you could create instead of a workbench, you could create, storage and you move cars, you could add that as an industry and create a loading time, and that's how long that car will stay in storage under your layout. It's really easy to do that within this program. There is there's a user group for this program. I've jumped on once or twice, and it's actually, there's a lot of tips. I don't know what the site is, but it is a great tool. And there's a lot of guys using this program. They're all Mac users, though. That's the only caveat. But it is a great program, and I really enjoy it. I've used it 2 years now. And I've found it to be very enjoyable and very easy to prep. It takes me longer to clean my track than to figure out where my cars are. So, yes. And you can create or you can create it as a yard. And then something I don't use is you can create divisions. So cars either don't cross divisions or go across divisions within. So you could create a separate division. The cars come from this division and go to that division. And that's how you could use staging for that. I purchased it from the Mac store or the Apple store, and it was less than $10. I mean, it was very inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. And to me, it's way cheaper than installing boxes all around your layout to hold car cards. So, and I know guys love car cards. Car cards are not for me. And I bought the boxes and I bought the car cards and I started writing stuff down. I was like, oh, this is for the birds. I found this program and I immediately ripped all those boxes off my layout, threw them away. So there are a couple of different programs out there similar to this. I know there are guys that use like Excel spreadsheets too. To me, this one it's not completely idiot proof, but if I'm using it, it's fairly idiot proof. So, and yeah, except for the ones say on their workbench. So I have 13 cars on my workbench right now. Because I haven't built. These are that's a brass caboose. That's another caboose I haven't painted yet. Most of these are almost done. No cars are on my layout at this point that aren't weathered and weighted and tested. So if they're not weathered and graffitied, and they have to have conspicuous striping to be on the layout. So those cars don't have that yet. So it's about a total is just about 100. Yeah. 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 Again, I look at it as a way I self-limit my ability to add cars. It's great. I can go into a train store and not have to worry about buying a freight car because I don't need any more.
Send a car out.
Uh-huh.
Say it's empty going into an industry.
Uh-huh. Loaded. 24 by 26. I mean, it's a pretty decent size layout. Mike, Matt, you guys can, I mean, it's a good size layout. Plenty of running and lots of aisle width. 8 industries total. But again, it takes 2.5 hours to switch those 8 industries.
Matt and I had 5 wide halfway around the layout.
Yeah.
A couple hours.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
We thought we were all done. I said, Matt, I think we need a knife there. Yeah, rethink everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll tell you, it's a fine bender.
Uh-huh.
Fine bender.
Uh-huh.
Worked well.
And so, I mean, I enjoy it. And like I said, we try and have the operating sessions every other month. So it is a good time to move some cars around. But like I said, making the switch list is one of the least concerns. I spend more time on other stuff than making my switch list. My switch list takes me 10, 15 minutes to print everything off and I'm ready to go.
You have a simple diagram with your layout?
I do not. That's something I do still need to work on, and I need to work on. I have the industries labeled, but I don't have, I need to label spots, and I need to do diagrams on the front of my fascia, but I do not know. It's not to the point where I want pictures, but I know Matt took some pictures of it the last time. So, and all my switches are fast track built. I use, the layout is all code 70 with fast track switches. All the switches are hex frog juiced, and they are all powered. All this, I use push buttons for the tortoises, but they're all locked. So you have a little outlet cover over there. You have to unlock it to get the switch to change the switch. So you got to line and lock everything before you get done. It's all part of the process, slows you down, and it adds play value. So you got to unlock it to be able to go into it. So, yes, I do have little derails you got to flip over to get into the industry. So it adds, again, it just takes a little bit more time with the SwitchList. 2-man crews are necessary. 1-man crew, it's too complicated to do 1-man crew. So. Yeah, and I do have two of the oh gosh, the really good proto throttles. I have 2 proto throttles. So, and when you use the proto on one of the locomotives, the proto throttle, it doesn't start at 1. You got to go to 2. One just ramps it up. 2 actually makes the thing move, and it'll take you a while to get used to it. I usually don't make Al use the proto throttle, right? The question was, is the program available for iPad or for iPhone? It is not. It is only for the Mac. And there was talk on the one podcasts, which one of the guys from Crossing Gate uses the program, and there was talk of trying to get it on the Android store, but nothing yet. So, any other questions?
Short article for the Signal about the group, and if you could just even do a real rough sketch of the layout to give us an idea.
And again, I have an operating crew of about 10 to 12, but if anybody wants on the crew, sometimes I had to cancel the last session because I could only get 2 people. So I hated to do, but I'm not gonna, I've done it with 3 people before, and the last time I only had 3 people, I ran a train and I redid a whole section of the layout, so I am not allowed to do that anymore. I redid it was about 20. I redid my whole main yard, so I took out about 20 feet of track, six tracks. I took it all out, wiped it clean, started over. So I'm not allowed to operate in one of my operating sessions ever again. So yeah, no, it took me 2 trips to the chiropractor to fix that one. Yeah. And and Frito-Lay, I've completed basically most of the structures for Frito-Lay, and the tanks. I've also, where IAN Hangcheng was originally is now Interstate Cold Storage. I've got that building done. I haven't got all the piping on the roof done, but that's coming along. So I'm trying to get ready for the May next year. I'm trying to get the layout more complete by May of next year, since it will be on the operating sessions for the regional convention. So, any other questions? All right. Thank you, gentlemen.